And welcome to the No Show Sportscast. First pitch, face-off, kickoff, tip-off. Here for you Mondays and Fridays. I'm Matt Klein here on the No Show. A lot to get into with the Canucks. They have been climbing up this ladder to get to the top of the Pacific Division for seemingly the entire season. Not to mention the top, still running that strong fight for the President's Trophy, but they have faltered quite a bit. And Rick Tocchet has identified this. He's realized that, man, this 9-game road trip, which has finally come to an end, by the way, this was actually kind of doing more of worse as far as our efforts are concerned. It's looking a lot worse. Things have not been going as well as we would like them to, because it seems like any team can just stroll in here and maybe not beat us, but embarrass us. So the Buffalo Sabres, the Dallas Stars, to name a few, even Montreal, that was, a 4-1 victory. But just looking at the last couple of weeks, it hasn't been decisive victories. It hasn't been, we clearly know who the better team is here. Now, last video, it was easy. I mentioned it was easy to kind of identify that the Canucks are still this team. They're still exceptionally well. Demko isn't in anymore, which puts a lot of pressure on DeSmith, on Arturs Silovs, and still it's looking like these victories are coming very, very narrow, and teams, especially with teams that they should be able to take down. I mean, it's not looking that great. It's not looking that decisive. These games are toss-ups, and there's a lot to go forward with. But of course, adding back Dakota Joshua, I mean, this guy, he is playing in a contract year. I suppose in baseball, that same effort and that same energy that you're trying to get to maybe make a name for yourself, identify a little bit different, appear to be better, appear to be worth the money. If we can get to a contract year, well, that's exactly where some of these guys are. So Joshua is playing for his money, for his life right now, and he's doing a spectacular job. Came back from injury. But still, a third line, a second line, Elias Lindholm still is looking for that. He's looking for that chutzpah. He's looking for that next step, which is kind of a return. It would be a return for him because of the great player that he was in Carolina and in Calgary. And the guy that the Canucks traded for, the guy that he wanted, that the Canucks wanted. So all of that being said, there's still so much more that we can see for the rest of the season, because the Canucks are in this malaise. They are in a situation where it's just easy to want to do nothing and to just coast into the playoffs. The Canucks clinched a playoff spot on Saturday, and it was very anticlimactic because it had nothing to do with their own merit. Of course, they had to win enough games to even get into this position, but they didn't even play on Saturday, and it was from other teams losing. And this, to me, is just a sign of the Canucks. They didn't, in other words, they didn't win the game that they needed to. They didn't beat the Stars. They didn't, and that was one of the top positions right there, because the Stars have been rolling. They're now headed towards the President's Trophy, just like the Rangers. But even in the Western Conference, they're that team that is looking like they're distancing themselves, especially with Colorado losing to Columbus on Monday. So here we are. It's just a fight to the finish. The President's Trophy, maybe it is getting a little bit farther away from the Canucks because they're just not playing like that team that is clearly the best one. And that's what you want. You obviously want to appear to be the best team going to the playoffs, but the Canucks, they just don't have that appearance that maybe that's what they had. But to me, it doesn't really matter a whole lot because they've been that consistent team. And you can say that these games don't matter as much, but just like in the NFL, it is very important that whoever they play in the first round, doesn't really matter who they are, but it matters what that team has been up to. What have they been doing? Have they been scraping and clawing to get to this position? Because in the NFL, it's not who you play, it's when you play them. With injuries, with momentum, that stuff is very easily recognizable in football, where each game means a whole ton of a lot. But in hockey, yeah, you do not want to be on a 6-game skid heading into the first round, where every matchup is formidable, especially in this Western Conference. You're playing the Red Hot Nashville Predators, or you're playing the Vegas Golden Knights, who just took the whole cup, the whole championship, the whole run, everything that you want to be, everything that the Canucks want to be this year. Vegas just stole the show with that last year. And I don't think that team has changed a whole lot. Maybe they're not as dynamic and as explosive as they were last year, where every game seemed like they were just like they were making significant strides against their opponents. But here we are. I just don't think that there's a clear-cut victor, which is great. I mean, this is awesome. Last year, yeah, it was Vegas. Year before that, Colorado. Maybe the couple of years that my boys over in Tampa took home the cup, no one really knew who was the best team. And I didn't know either. I just knew that the Lightning, we got to win. We got to win, guys. And sure enough, they did. There's always, like, Carolina has always been that team that's expected to come out of the Eastern Conference, but they just haven't done anything. They're the Carolina Hurricanes are the 2017 to 2022 Utah Jazz, where they lead the Western Conference in points percentage. They're up there at the top. You think they're going to do something amazing, and then they just cannot do a lick in the postseason. And everyone thought that they were so amazing, but the Hurricanes haven't done anything. They just have not done a lick. They got swept in the ECF last year to the Panthers, and before that, they lost in 5 games to the Lightning. Actually, that was the year before that. They lost in 5 games to the Lightning. That was in 2021. But either way, it's shaping into be an exciting finish because they are going to be playing a lot of these. The Canucks are going to be playing a lot of these teams that they are going to have to realistically size up. Because right now, I don't look at the standings and I say, oh yeah, Vancouver has more points, therefore they're better than LA. Therefore they're better than Edmonton. No. The Canucks are playing LA and they're playing Vegas on this upcoming remainder of the schedule. It's very short. Whoever wins these games between Vegas and Vancouver and LA and Vancouver, that is going to speak volumes. I don't care about the standings anymore. How about this? How about let's just start from zero? I know we all technically start from zero when the playoffs roll around, but how about we just start from zero right now? The Canucks should not look at the regular season thus far and think that they've accomplished anything. Consider yourselves babies. Consider yourselves at the bottom of the food chain because you're playing like it. And Vegas and LA are just trying to get every single point that they can. Every single point matters to them. It doesn't matter a whole lot. Yeah, you want to separate yourself from the Oilers, but it doesn't matter. Who cares? And for the Blue Jays' sake, at least, I mean, things could not be worse. I mean, that Tampa series was a little bit up and down. No, I don't think anybody really knew who was clearly better. Tampa Bay, the Rays are going to have a very, very weird time. They're going to have a very difficult season, I think, until they get Springs and Rasmussen back. And I don't get it. Springs had Tommy John in April of last year, and now he's not expected to come back until July. He should be back now. It's been 12 months. Springs played 2.5 games. Okay, so the end of April then. The middle of April? I don't know. I don't know how Tommy John works. I guess if you're a pitcher, you need to take even more time than a year. But, yeah. And then Josh Young, fractured forearm. Probably the best. Well, him and Garcia and Seager, obviously. I mean, Texas is loaded. But anyway, back to the Toronto Blue Jays. They just got completely blown up in Houston. The first game of the series, a no-hitter for Ronel Blanco. A guy who's 30 years old and didn't even start playing in the majors until he was 28. Barely scraped enough identity from last season to even be recognized as a starter this year. And sure enough, he gets it done for the Houston Astros for their first win of the season because they got swept by the Yankees. Yeah, it's one game. It's not a good look when the fifth starter in the rotation is blanking you for 9 straight innings, not even giving you a hit. It's a terrible performance of the Blue Jays, but I know it's going to be a bad year for the Blue Jays. They're not going to be able to achieve anything this year. They really won't. They're going to get they're going to get a win every time Gosman's on the mound. And Jose Barrios can definitely pitch. Last year was spectacular year for him. I think this year, if he keeps that going, same thing. Bowden Francis, no, he's not. No, he's not the answer. He's not going to be better than Manoah when Manoah comes back. You need him. Kikuchi is I don't know if he's going to play better this year. Like last year was beyond expectations for him. So I don't know if we can realistically say, okay, Kikuchi, just do what you did last year, no problem. More strikeouts than innings pitched, please. I mean, back and forth between starting rotation, bullpen. But yeah, I just don't like having. I mean, I do want Biggio to play more, but it's more for defense, not necessarily for offense. IKF, I don't think there's a lot of expectations there. I mean, it's just at least we have the defense in the outfield, but as far as the offensive production, I guess, yeah, Justin Turner is way better than Brandon Belt because Belt was a lot less dynamic. He was hit or miss, literally. He was home run or nothing. The cleanup hitter, I didn't want to see him there. I wanted Vladdy to be the cleanup hitter. And, I mean, my goodness, that Dalton Varsho trade is just looking worse and worse for the Blue Jays now because Lourdes Gurriel is like, what, runner-up NL player of the week? That guy is just hitting everything. That Arizona Diamondbacks team is raking altogether, just exploded, destroyed the Rockies. I expect they'll have a bounce-back game against the Yankees Tuesday. But Lourdes Gurriel and Gabriel Moreno, like both of those guys are going to hit around 300 this year. And Varsho's going to hit around 240, maybe 20 home runs, maybe 15 steals, and 70 ribbies. Like off-field, I guess, yeah, defensive, catcher versatility. But, I mean, yes, you get that with Turner, of course, but he's an older gent. Yes, it would be nice if he had a career high in RBIs again, like he did last year. But, I mean, he was, yes, that veteran presence, we're just replacing veteran presence here. Going from Belt to Turner. I mean, I know Vladdy's going to, like, maybe be a better team player, like a better teammate, but he's got to get back to that form.